Now, joining us today to discuss some of the issues raised in my commentary are our senior political commentator, Randall Dobayu. Randall Dobayu is currently the vice chair or the deputy secretary general of the Congress for Democratic Change. He is also an expert in the area of sustainable and climate smart agriculture. He once served as deputy director for the Liberia Environmental Protection Agency. Also joining us is
Zeze Cooney. Uh, are you on mute, Mr. Sacco?
can you not hear me?
I'm hearing you, Thomas.
Yeah, can you
Yeah, I can
please
hear you now.
introduce yourself properly?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my name is Zeze Cooney. I live in Philadelphia. I'm a Liberian. Uh, that's it. Something happening with the sound from you, Mr. Sacco. I can.
Okay. Now, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I'm hearing you clearly. I'm hearing you.
Okay. Okay. It seems Zizi is having some, technical issue on his end. Then we'll welcome to the stage Mr. Momolu Dole, an educator and um, an aspiring diplomat, I'll say. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cycle. I'm glad to be here today.
Okay. Momolu? Momolu, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm getting you. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting you,
When we
but your
get
Thank
back,
you.
video is
Thank you.
buffering. Your video is buffering.
yeah, I think he's
Yeah, it's gonna
having.
be awful because I'm not even where I'm supposed to be. I'm just improvising
Okay.
where I am.
Okay, we'll manage with that. We'll
Um,
get. Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the show. I'm Mongolo Dole. I lecture at the AME University and work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's great to be on the show, and thank you for all the efforts.
Okay, thank you very much. When we come back, we will reflect on the 178 years of our country's existence. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world, and welcome to 1847 Liberty. I'm Thomas Sarko, and together with my co-host Joseph Irene, we bring you insightful analysis and exclusive interviews of thought leaders from Liberia and around the world. Please stay tuned. And, and also joining us is my co-host who uh, was faced with some technical problems back in Liberia. So we'll have Joseph introduce himself, and then we can move on to our discussion. Joseph?
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Sako, for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. I am Joseph Arhin, and I'm a Liberian
Yeah, the internet is very,
living in
very, very,
Liberia,
very, very
and I'm
bad
a
today.
mentee of
Not even today,
Mr.
since
Sako
yesterday,
and
I started to observe
Mr.
that.
Dolly. I met Mr. Dolly in the African Methodist Episcopal University, where he introduced me to Mr. Sako, a master speaker, and you know, he, yes, the internet actually been bad.
Yes, we beg your pardon. The internet is really bad in Liberia today, but we'll manage. Um, nothing is going to stop us today. We're going to, continue and progress with the show. So thank you very much, Joseph. Joseph will be co-hosting the show with me. Uh, so that's it. When we come back, we will get right into our discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world, and welcome to 1847 Liberty. I'm Thomas Sarko, and together with my co host Joseph Irene, we bring you insightful analysis and exclusive interviews of thought leaders from Liberia and around the world. Please stay tuned.
Okay, we'll begin with you, Ronald. Considering your background in sustainable and climate smart agriculture, how far have we come on our long journey to self governance? What significant progress we've made so far, especially in your area, the area of food sovereignty? Ronald?
So thank you very much, Mr. Thomas Saika, and thanks for the insightful commentary and the introduction of the topic. I listened to your analysis on independence and talking about food, and your question is directed at food. But before getting to the genesis of that question, let me just um, agree with you and stress the argument a little bit on the independence argument. And as a student of history, I learned that Liberia was founded by the ACS, the American Colonization Society. I mean, the immediate cause, like we learned, was the little band, the ship little band going to the port of Buchanan and refusing to pay custom duty. And because Sierra Leone, led by the British under Governor Charles McCarthy, had military might. And because of that, Labrador laid a complaint to the ACS. What the ACS said was, advise Labrador to declare independent. Now, this is what historically we've been misled, right? And you on mute, Thomas, just in case you want to talk, you on mute, right? Labrador, we need to reassess what it is to declare independence and to attain independence in the context of politics, in the context of political governance. I'm glad my brother Mabulu is here. He's a political science lecturer.
Mhm.
Liberia did not attain us independent. Instead, we declare. What is declaration? Declaration is a verbal expression of intent. I could see a young girl passing on the road today and decide to fall in love with her. Declaring my love for her does not necessarily mean I'm in love with her. So those basic elements of independence to me were not put in place. Even if we are to take what happened in 1847, right? Those those free black slaves wanted to remove the U.S. slave mark, that mark of identity that was on them as slave. They wanted to remove it. They wanted to be free. In my mind, what they did not reflect a grassroots liberalism. It was not a grassroots liberalist movement. It was instead an imposed solution to escape American repatriation. And in that, even the indigenous people they met on ground, there was exclusion. So today we are dominated by those people that were left aside. So it has affected the social element of our governance system. Those indigenous people, and when you look at the the hierarchy of our independent structure, there were discrimination for almost 133 years. So, in short, just to get to what the question was, the foundation, there was no funding ideas. Labrador was funded with no ideas. It was just a knee-jerk approach that we used to get us to where we are. And after almost 178 years, I think there is a need that will go and reassess, maybe reproclaim with a defined objective what our constitution, what our independence represent. It represents nothing. It has shown nothing for about 200 years. And now let's exclude the Unity Party 12 years of governance. Let's exclude the 66 years of governance. I still have maintained for the past 20 years that Liberia did not attain independence. She declared independence, and it's like a child being reared on their own, not going through the proper parental guardians. And then at age maturity, there was some fundamental home principles, home discipline that they did not experience. And that is what we have experienced today as a country. Now, I believe when all of these elements have been put in place, if we have put in a strong sense of patriotism and nationalism, strong ideological foundation, right, on our country's foundation, and we have a plan and assessment like you were talking about the construction theory, you need everything to be in place. I think at this point, what you were talking about, food, we will be food sovereign, right? And when I talk about food, food is not just about nutrients. Food is an ecological relationship and a reflection of our cultural values. It is a source of economic growth that just do not give us cash, but it adds dignity to human life. It makes us better. It maintains our physical health, promote development in children, in the elderly people, and pregnant women. Even today's for us on this show, how many of us have not eaten? We've eaten. Our food will not be here. And those were reasons why I was at the law school in the University of Liberia. I explored new opportunity, and when I got the scholarship to do my master in sustainable food system with concentration in climate smart agriculture, I took the opportunity without hesitating. And today, I can tell you this, Thomas, from what I know, right, that I'm glad you talk about food sovereignty. Most of the time, we don't understand and we just wrongly use the term food security, food sovereignty. Then another one I want to add there, food justice. I'm going to run you through all of these and to see what a Liberia as a country, what do we have access to and where are we? These are very concepts when you read about food governance and food system. So food security, what is if I let's know what is food security, let's see what Liberia is food secure. Let's know what is sovereignty. Let's see what Liberia has food sovereignty. Let's know what is food justice. If that premise is laid well, I can tell you that food security is a concept and it has a core focus. And what is that core focus? That core focus has to do with availability and access. That's why you see in countries like America, Europe, Great Britain, and other places, they have food security. That is a global concept tied to capitalism because the ultimate motive of capitalism is all about profit, exploitation of the market. So food security is about availability and access. They don't care about other things that I will talk about. These are the core focus of food security. Now they talk about sufficiency, they talk about access, and the utilization. It doesn't talk about nutrition, right? And food sovereignty, which you just spoke about, to see what a Liberia is food sovereign, and that is what I support as compared to food sovereignty. Why? Because food sovereignty as a concept, it has one major core focus, and that has to do with controls and right. Your right to control and produce what you want to produce and eat what you want to eat. The right to produce, the right not to be manipulated, the right not to have any external influence over what you do with your natural resources, with your environment, with your farms. That is food sovereignty. And then it has to do with defining your priorities in terms of production. Nobody should tell you that produce cocoa. Nobody should tell you produce cash crops like coffee, right? And Liberia as a country for over 100 years, we've had a Firestone and a Salala rubber plantation that focuses on non-consumable agro businesses like rubber and coffee. And those materials produced over the years have been exported. When they exported, the little royalty we receive, we use it to buy huge food from those that are food secure. That has been a fundamental disconnect in terms of how we build ourselves as a nation with our full sovereignty model. We have none in existence in our country. We follow the global concept of food security. Food security doesn't care about your health. Food security only care about access and availability, whether it's healthy for you. And then food security, those who make the determination for food security, they control everything. They stop you from being self-sufficient. They stop regional self-reliance, and they manipulate the how you call the regional political ecology of food. And that has been our fundamental issue. This brings me to our last point about food justice. Now, unlike food security and food sovereignty, food justice has to do with equity and systemic change. Now, in America, here, they have food security, but there is gross food justice issue. Black communities, Latino community, white community, the access to food, the quality of food you get is different. So even in Liberia today, there are certain communities you live in, you have access to certain food. Some communities you live in, you have access to supermarkets and shops. At the end of the day, we have a country after almost 200 years, we're experiencing what we call food desert. Food desert is a situation where people have limited access to nutritional food, people have limited access to supermarkets and stores. You have to go distance. The entire Liberia, more than 95% of our country,
And
after almost 200 years, have no
singing a
access.
radical philosopher and filter.
Yeah, is facing the issue about food desert and food slums is also an issue. So to answer your question, in a nutshell, Mr. Thomas Saka, Liberia as a country has been having issue with food sovereignty. Most of the time we talk about food security. Food security will just give you what you need, but food security, if you're food secure, you don't control anything.
But
Foreign, yeah,
Rana, just to uh build on that argument. So food security come before food sovereignty, right? So Liberia being a country that we can argue isn't even food secure yet. So don't you think our focus right now should be on the short-term food security before focusing on the long-term of food sovereignty?
we celebrating almost 200 years, Thomas, and the food and it has always been a short term. So that sense of not being ambitious has existed for almost 200 years. We've been just thinking about right now, the current. We've never been thinking about the future. And that sense of not thinking about the future is what has led us to where we are. Why is it our neighbors in Araco they feed themselves? Why is it Senegal feed themselves? In our entire region, we are the weakest in terms of our ability to feed ourselves. It's because
Okay,
we always been getting it from outside.
okay,
And
Ronald,
that's very
we'll come right back to you, but I think you mentioned Momolu in your argument, at least from his background or his position as a lecturer on political science. So, Momolu, what do you make of Rano's argument that even the the ideological basis or foundation of our nation was not established from the onset of our establishment as a nation? Do you agree with that argument, or do you look at it from a different angle? Is Momolu, are you there?
I think Momolu, I keep hearing and complaining about internet. I think
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, he has problem with the internet. I think so.
Okay, we'll have Zizi respond to the question. Zizi, what do you make of?
A very
Uh,
difficult
okay,
problem.
Dolly is back. Mhm. Okay, so all right. Since we cannot get Momolu, I would thank Rano for going uh, 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 going further with taking my argument further, and really giving us some detail
uh,
about. the key
You getting
issues
me?
mentioned. Momolu, are you?
Hello,
Yeah, yeah. Momolu, you are live.
Tom. I are you getting me?
Yes, sir. We can hear
Um,
you clearly.
I don't think we have to just sit and criticize what has happened in the past. I think it is time for us to uh do what we can do to prepare our nation forward. I listened to Ronald talking about food security. I'm going to be very bit sarcastic with him here. When you guys were distributing the $25 million food, some of didn't receive. So where is the food justice? Where is the food security? Because oh,
Okay, so until
this show
until
has to be very feisty. You don't have to make the show.
Momolu, you are live. You are live, Momolu.
Mr. Sacco, I will be preparing to go to work. So if there's any input, I can just get my little input on the whole topic, and then I will have to leave later. I will not be
Okay,
here for
so
long.
okay, so you can come in.
Yeah, I'm.
Okay.
Momolu will get right back to you
What?
after Zizi. After Zizi.
Okay, I want to thank you all, Mr. Sacco and Randolph over there. Your last name, is it W?
Yeah, it's do by you, do by you.
W. Okay. Thank you so much for your explanation, your expose, and your analysis of what's going on in Liberia concerning independence and food. I'm actually from a health background. I'll be giving a little information on what's going on concerning the health issue. But I think when you say independence,
Mhm.
when you say you are independent, it's not just a declaration. It's a preparation, the preparedness, and the readiness to take care of your affairs, your sovereignty. And but I feel that Liberia prematurely declared her independence. And now, if you declare independence, you are not able to do certain things that require, like, for instance, we talk about health, we talk about education, we talk about food. Mr. W was talking about food security. Up to now, 178 years, Liberians, we cannot feed ourselves. And when you look at the health sector, you talk about infant mortality. I was just checking. Up to this time, in this new dispensation, Liberia has one of the highest infant mortalities in the world, in Africa. We got like 55 deaths to 1,000 live births. When you talk about maternal mortality rate, we have like 628 to 100,000 live births. Those are negative things on our country. And I sure think that it is because of bad governance and the corruption. They are putting the money where it doesn't belong, where priorities are not placed. In Liberia, we know if a lawmaker, we talk about the senator can be making 9,000 and some more dollars, and a civil servant making $150, how would the common Liberian person survive? How will you sustain your family? Those are some of the things, Mr. Sacco and Mr. W. I think it is because of bad governance and the corruption, that mindset of enriching ourselves when we get into authority, when we get into positions. Liberia has one
Okay,
of the highest, I can say, best natural resources. If we use it for the country, Liberia should not be suffering now. Since 1847, see Ghana, see Guinea, see Sierra Leone. Ghana used to be our baby. 1957, they got their independence. We came from 1847. Look at how it is. We
okay,
are
okay,
not doing.
Zizi. Okay, Zizi,
Yeah.
let me come in real quick. So I like the comparison with Ghana and with Sierra Leone, with other countries. But given your background in health and healthcare delivery, public health, you know, the public health the public health challenges, was one of the main issues raised in the commentary, right? So looking at Sierra Leone, Guinea, and the other countries that you are mentioning, what do you think we can learn from those countries to set our priorities straight and start to correct some of the public health failures that we're currently faced with. Is it?
No, but I think let's just forget about those countries. Our country, Liberia, because we can't compare with Sierra Leone, because Sierra Leone
Yeah,
may
but
not be a good example of.
yeah, granted, but you can also learn some transferable, good practices, to benefit the country. Because here we are not just criticizing, but we also want to, suggest solutions. So that's one of the main, reasons we are on here.
I think some resources should be diverted to the healthcare sector of our country.
Mm-hmm.
The hospitals, clinics, a lot of the equipment to buy. Liberians are going abroad like Ghana for something that Liberia we should be having those equipment or experts in the country. And we learn that there's a brain drain. So many doctors are being trained who are Liberians because there's no attraction to even salary of healthcare professionals. So they leave and go to other countries. But if we can divert our budget, a significant portion of our budget to health, where we make it attractive for people even who want to work in the health sector, there will be people going there. People will come from other countries. Then that before you see that WLT used to be one of the best medical center, I mean, a medical or training or colleges in Africa. People used to come there. And we know that there was a war, the war came and then it destroyed some of our stuff. But what I just said, if we can divert some of our budgetary allotment to health, health should not be at the bottom of the budget. It should be one of the first. If you're really serious, you want to help the people. People are dying. We talk about teenage pregnancy. Go there, you see Liberia is one of the highest. And also economic growth, make it attractive. The health sector of Liberia is very bad because I think we are not prioritizing the health area of our country.
Thank you very much. So, Ronald, Zizi mentioned budgetary allocation, but I think we have one underlying issue that we really need to address because we've seen year after year our successive regimes, have failed. Like corruption, we've been receiving funding, significant funding from our international partners to tackle some of our public health issues. But corruption remains a major obstacle. So, Ronald, how do you think we can tackle the issue of corruption? So, even with the
Yeah.
availability of funds, the funds are still not being used for the purposes they were meant for. So, how can we
Right.
tackle corruption as an underlying issue?
So I think somebody's background is grumbling. I don't know whose background. Uh,
Zeze, will you please mute?
yeah, mute. Okay, I think
Thank you,
so.
sir.
So I'm so sorry, my dear brother Mobolo, when his first response to me, and I think I like to emphasize that point. When I was talking, you said exclude the Unity Party 12 years, their current 6 years, and even CDC 6 years, there was still a Liberia for over 133 years. Living in denial and as false sense of justification and getting on the defensive is what get where we are. We have to be open-minded, right, regardless of who is in power. To me, I think this conversation is nationalistic. We have to be honest with ourselves. Our head teachers at AMU. I am at AMU. I am an adjunct instructor of global climate science and environmental science, right? I've done that without taking pay. And in my class, I teach there the same way I went to school here in America. You know what? I don't take bribe. Why? You say we are corrupt today, but we don't talk about the corruption in the classroom. Look, Liberia is a country where we teach corruption without it being in our curriculum. We teach corruption as a subject, but it's not in our curriculum. You myself were in Cathedral Catholic School. Psycho, you were a smart guy. You were not one of those who buy grades, but I bet you cannot tell me others did not buy grades in school. People will start legalizing corruption from high school, from as far as elementary. We don't stop corruption there. But those very people, when they grow up, they occupy offices, and you think you can stop corruption. For me, I like to be realistic. I like to be practical with the conversation. Corruption, we only see corruption in our country to be when you are in government at the upper level. Go today and speak different accent and go buy down water, sir. A goose that is $100 to sell to you $350. But that is not seen as corruption. You have to be in a higher office. So the issue about corruption, the mindset, the mentality, the way we are not honest with ourselves. See how my brother responded to the question here. When I was talking about generational issue and said when you people were sharing the 25, let's assume if we are sharing the 25 million on everybody, will it make us full secure? That is not the problem of Liberia. The problem of Liberia is honesty. You see, Mr. This is just talking about health. As an environmental scientist, I have more link with the health sector. When I was with the EPA, we worked alongside with the NFIL and Ministry of Health. And I know in our country, access to health is a major issue. When you were talking about the issue of malaria, right? When you were talking about malaria, I thought about the work we tried doing. I was designated by the government Liberia to represent Liberia at the scientific level, the African Union scientific level in in Nigeria. And there we said, why is it in America mosquito is there, but why is it the mosquito cannot kill? Why is it the mosquito in America and other places cannot give him malaria? The reason is simple, Mr. Cecilia is a health practitioner. There's something we call genetic manipulation. There's something we call geoengineering. You can engineer and manipulate the gene of the female's Anaphylaxis mosquito because that what causes the plasmodium parasite that transmit into that disease. So we were trying to do that engineering to extract, and over time we do some sterilization that will make all of those generation will die with and the male remains, and then in the end you will get the mosquito bite, but you will not die of that. These are long-term effort that I must commend ECOWAS for, and that plan is still in place on the ECOWAS regional health mechanism, and I was designated on that. So ECWA is thinking about 50 years from now. So the initial conversation I was having with when Mahmoud was on is how can we sustain ourselves in the next 50 years? And I tell you for this, not just to talk about, I can come up with solution, right? We
Mhm.
can do a symbolic and legal reaccession of our independence. Look, the reason why you celebrate your birth anniversary every year because there is evidence that you were born. Birth certificate, and people celebrate for you. They name you ceremony. So when that time comes every year, you think about when you were born. Liberia, the only reason why we declare independent is because we fear we wanted, to live under the slave rule. In the same slave mentality we took from here, the so-called Congo and native situation, we experienced it that what led to the coup of April 12, 1980, right? Those verses still exist where specific people live in Mama Point, other people live in the other places until these social issues are discussed for of party sentiments. We're going nowhere. And I can tell you this, right? In conclusion, there are several countries around the world. Countries like Austria. Austria was previously occupied by the Nazi Germany. In 1918 was their initial independence. After the World War II in 1945, they reproclaimed their independence with a defined plan and model. Even Estonian, right? You can read about Estonian, they were first under the Soviet Union. And later in 1991, they symbolically re-declared their independence with a justified cause and purpose. Right? Ethiopia and other countries around the world. So Liberia, yesterday I saw people celebrating, and like you said, the political elite now try to claim that as a justification that things are good in the country. No, let me tell you, you must have been in America for about 13 years. We celebrate, we work 24 hours, we celebrate for no reason. Then you get a reason to celebrate. We celebrate over plus. We celebrate in the basement for no
Okay,
reason.
Ronald. Okay, Ronald. Thank you for
Yeah,
providing some real good insight on that. And to sum up, I look at two underlying problems. One is about the misplaced priorities. We haven't been able to set our priorities in the correct order, and the other has to do with corruption, and corruption not just from the top but from the root. So now let's look at the solution. Let's understand the problem from the root causes, all right, or from the root cause. So as a country, we are like what we'll say uh, a rebellious teenager who just want to be carefree and doesn't want to be under the guidance of their parents because they want to hang out anytime they feel like. So they're just waiting for them to turn 18. And by the time that 18th birthday reaches, they tell the parents, I'm old enough, I'm moving on my own. Without even considering job, and how to even sustain their life. So they go out there, they party, and then when they're hungry, they come back home to ask mom and dad for money. And when their rent is due, they come back knocking. And when it's time for school fees, they come again to their parents for school fees. Now, when the parents give them money to go and take care of themselves, they do not prioritize, their needs, according to their needs level, right? They take all the money and go party. Then they come back again to ask for school fees. So in short, if you look at the Liberian state, I think we're like that. We're like that carefree teenager or adolescent, right? We collect a lot of taxes, but we don't know where to put those monies that we collect. We collect huge amount of revenue. Our past, our current revenue generation, the budget for 2025. Is it please mute? Yeah, our 2025 budget, a budgetary allocation sent over 87% of the budgetary allocation to recurrent expenditures. What are recurrent expenditures? Salaries, perks. Some of those government officials have $2,000 for just their petty cash, refreshment. Now you have board of directors for some of the public corporations. The board of direct the board members, most of whom already have lucrative jobs in government. Some are ministers and what have you, still collect board sitting fees every time they go for a meeting. They collect quarterly allowances. Now we squander all of our revenues that we generate, but when we are broke, when we're having some kind of flooding situation in West Point, we go to the World Bank. We go to the WHO for money. When the World Bank and the WHO gave us money, what do? We put it in our pockets. We don't use the money for internal purposes. Now, let's look at the issue of corruption. Now, I will tell you this. The leaders of any nation reflect the true character of the people they lead. Okay? So it's easier to point fingers now and say, oh, the leaders in the past were corrupt. They didn't set our priorities straight. But guess what? Those leaders back in the day were about the same age, as you and myself. Okay? They were saying the same things, right? So this thing is ingrained into our society. This is about mindset change. Okay. Now I've been doing a little study, right? I live in Western countries, and I've had an opportunity to work in classrooms, little kids, primary school students. When they're asked about their profession in life, their aspirations, most of the kids will tell you, I want to be a police officer. When you grow up, what do you want to be? I want to be a police officer. Why do you want to be a police officer? Passion comes in. I want to be a police officer because I want to stop crime. I want to minimize crime in my neighborhood because I see a lot of people are being killed. Without any kind of preventative measures. So I want to stop that. I want to be a doctor. Why do you want to be a doctor? I want to be a pediatrician because I see a lot of children are suffering. I want to minimize their suffering. Okay? But go back to Liberia now. Ask the 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds, when you grow up, what do you want to be? I want to be a lawyer. Why do you want to be a lawyer? Because I want to build my mom a big house and a big car so we can, dig ourselves out of the mud. Now we have that mentality to the extent that even when somebody serves in government and retires, we will be looking to see if that person is broke or not. And when a person is broke, we mock, those people. We all have that mentality. Today we can all sit and criticize the past leaders. But when we have the opportunity, the same things are repeated. So now, as a social visionary, I believe in mindset change. Gentlemen, the question goes to the both of you, Zeze and Randall. What mechanism, what can we do to start tackling the issue of corruption from the perspective of mindset change. What can, and I'll give an example. The country of Russia, some years ago, you noticed that most of the young people were not patriotic. People didn't care much about the country. What Russia did was they started some programs where they started putting the national anthems in the children video games. They started, doing a lot of nationalistic stuff so that you can start programming the minds of the youth. So, with your experience in government, Mr. Dobayu, what do you think we can do in that area of mindset change?
So the concept of nationalism, the spirit of nationalism is totally lacking in us Liberians. And it is that spirit that we need to reignite. I go back again to Liberians in the diaspora celebrating their independence. I want to tell you that is a borrowed love from what you've seen others doing. In America, you know how Americans love their country. In Ghana and other places. So we are obliged by the environment we find ourselves to want to show love to our country. But we today in our country, they have stopped the teaching of service. Why? How do you become nationalistic? How do you build a generation of nationalistic citizens without teaching civics in your schools? Today, in our schools, we've stopped teaching honesty. Bible and religion, they have been restricted in our school. Where are these basic principle discipline that we grow up knowing? Until we reevaluate and stop the borrowed Western mentality, whatever America does, you want to do it, you take away from yourself. So that sense of nationalism, right? It needs to be that we. Let me give you this example. I see there was a time people when I came to America, I called myself son of a bushman. People say, well, what you call yourself son of a bushman for? You're so country, you're so country. They mention civilization based on how you talk and how you name yourself, right? And
Mhm.
because they are in America now, they speak serious. Serious is a script English that doesn't project or show your intelligence. It's just a script English, the same way, informal English, the same way you get your Liberian English. Now, because of that, even so, some Liberians come here, they are not even proud to speak the Liberian English, least to talk about a native tongue. Okay, I'm a crown man from Grand Gita, and I don't even speak crown. What is nationalism? Bring, stop that crap of saying I was not born in Makante, I was born in Morovia. Chinese born in New York, they speak Chinese. You've been here. The Spanish people here, they haven't gone anywhere, they speak Spanish. So when do we get to the point of stop giving excuses? And this is one thing I want to openly give credit to few tribes in our country. You see the Mandicos and another group that can try the Bassa. Wherever they are, they let them speak their turn. I know Mandicos in America who children were born here, they learn how to speak Mandicos. But majority of us, we are not willing to teach our children our native tongue. We are not willing to teach them our cultural value. We just acculturate. And in the process of acculturation, if you don't go through it properly and understand the rationale and philosophy behind people's culture, just take it, you just get into it and you get lost. And that is what we Liberians are good at. So cycle until we go back to the cornerstone, until we go back to our classroom. Nothing happens outside the classroom until we reevaluate and make our PTA, Parent Teacher Association, in the various schools stronger like it used to be when we were in school. Those days when you and myself were in Cathedral Catholic School, Mr. Nimle used to beat us with writing to discipline us, to make us learn what we should learn today. If you do a human right comes in. Don't get me wrong. I believe in human right, but a student and a citizen must be prepared for the future. Our
Okay,
generation
Ronald.
today,
Okay,
yeah.
Ronald. Let me just come in quickly. Okay, so that I understand, where you're coming from, but being in government yourself, from the perspective of the government, how can we instill into the minds of our young people? What examples are we setting when I've seen successive governments like in the previous regime before the CDC, government. There was a lot of framework put in place to tackle corruption. There was the Anti-Corruption Commission. There was one about public procurement and concessions, but implementation and even the culture of impunity, because young people are watching. They're seeing people, officials being convicted or accused of corruption and just walk free without any, uh, accountability. So if we continue to do this, how do you think the young people, will respond? Because as a government, if you start really drastically punishing people who are found guilty of stealing from the public, then young people coming up will see that as a deterrent. Oh, when I grow up, I will try to be strict in whatever I do because I don't want to be in prison for stealing public funds.
I
So
do
what
agree.
do you think we can do from the perspective of the government?
That's what I say from the perspective of the government. What has happened
Mhm,
has happened. You
mhm.
you need a new generation of citizens with a renewed mindset. You need to build you need to build that responsible citizenship in our people. Now, I gave you the case during Judy Bryant time. Judy Bryant, Ed Snow, they were convicted. I mean, they were accused of corruption and sent to court. Those people were free by the grand jury. The grand jury are ordinary citizens. Our jurisprudence calls for a grand jury where your peers gotta judge you and make judgment on you. Grand juror whose citizens were taken from them go and free people from the court. Right? So again, the government could arrest somebody and say this person is corrupt. Those who guard our justice system, the grand juror, those who serve as juror, are custodian of authority. How many corruption cases have gone scot free because grand jury set them free? Their mindset, that responsible citizenship, and it cannot just start from the top. Right now, you have a generation of corrupt people way up there that no matter what happens, they are not going to stop being corrupt. You can go back in America. There's a generation they call the baby boomers. This is the most successful generation because that generation, when I think that was a generation right after World War II, very rich. They are few now. You have to learn how to build generation of people. Right now, I tell you, go back and say children born 2025, when they are 18 years of age, they should see corruption like a taboo. Go back and build the schools. Teach them that discipline. Teach them the discipline. Thomas, no matter how you and myself talk about corruption from a late service perspective, no matter how we build bigger institutions, the more institutions you build out a mindset, the more you widen the scope of corruption, the more you add more value on those on the process of stealing, the more you get more people involved. Because most of the time in Liberia, what we call corruption is once a man steals and he alone has service with the money, that will be revealed and he'll be seen as corrupt. But when you share the money, they say, my man, the member you can share with E. Once the UERE phenomenon is recognized, is honored, that man is not corrupt. So I still argue that as a government needs to put into place mechanism that nurtures good citizenship from the very beginning.
Okay, let's see what Zizi has to say. If Zizi can give an input, if not, then we'll turn over to my co-host for some questioning. Or if our audience, our followers, have questions too, we can pose to our panelists. Zizi, are you there? Okay, we will move on to Joseph. Joseph, do you have anything from our followers? Joseph, you are mute.
I'm sorry, we don't have anything yet from our followers, but if you're out there following and we're talking about food sovereignty, we're talking about healthcare, and some of the measures that we can put in place. We are not just looking at the problem in our Liberian state. We're also looking at solution on how to mitigate these things. So if you're out there watching this live and following the discussion, you can drop your comment. We will read them and respond to them in subsequent time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be going on to a segment of our show that is going to be a part of our bread and butter here. It's called Man Vision, looking at the vision from the vision from this perspective of people on the street, the Man. So that will be brought to us by my good friend and brother Leroy A. Dixon. We'll be right back. Please continue to follow. Leroy, if you are ready, what's the vision, Bannerman? Leroy, what's your vision, Bannerman? We're talking about all these big ideas, about the country. What's your input, Bannerman?
Leroy is mute.
Leroy, you are mute.
It, can you hear me now?
Clearly. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. First and foremost, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you at. I'm Leroy A. Dixon. The term Bannerman is like, in the sense, it's a negative term. It's a negative term. And when I'm saying a negative term, is because people think that when you're Bannerman, you like you criminal minded. You just street smart and it's just about the street activity. So when we say burnout vision, it's like we're trying to change it around in the sense to where you can be street person as what people know you to be, but we want to put some little sense into people's head for the next coming up generation because I've been following the topic and all the conversation. So it's kind of aligning with the same thing because the vision is for people to be in the street and feel like they're comfortable enough to say, okay, I won't be able to do this and do that financially. We borrow man as general to be able to be pushing we borrow and say, okay, I got bank account. It's all about financial literacy. So, the vision is wide. You can just be a man and you can be a doctor. You can be a man, you can still be a lawyer. You can be a man, you can be a bishop. All depends on what category in life aspect that you want to fulfill. So at the end of the day, we just trying to bring that vision to enlighten all our Liberians, our youth, the younger ones that are coming up, so they can be well mind prepared for tomorrow.
Thank you very much, man. We'll be right.
Sure.
Before we move on to
I
our
tried
next.
to come in, but somebody called me and then I got caught off.
All right. You're welcome back.
Yes, you talk about what the government can do. You were discussing with Mr. W, and I beg to differ a little bit with him on some issues because the culture of impunity and deterrence in our country is contributing more to more corruption in the country. Because we see that some people are corrupt, they are caught for corruption, they are convicted, and in other administrations we see them there working. So the younger generation is not seeing it as something wrong. And besides, in our schools, if it is possible to introduce a curriculum that has to do with patriotism and being
Hmm.
loyal to your country, not eating government money and not doing something, that's something I would recommend. But the culture of impunity, Mr. Sako, is one of the reasons why corruption continues. People are not penalized, or they say they're going to penalize them, but when you look, they go scot free. But I thought Mr. W were going to emphasize on that a little bit. But another thing is leadership. We see now in Burkina Faso, the president, the head of the country, because of the stand he takes, other people down there are going to follow. If you have one person who will be a strong patriot to stand in Liberia and say, look, this country is going forward. If you are caught for corruption, just for example, you will be executed or whatever, people will be scared. I remember some time ago, what I was in, it was in terrible time. They used to beat corrupt people. They used to publicly put them on the pole and then whip them. It happened in Samuel Doe era. Well, it wasn't something good. I know it was wrong, but that was also a deterrent, public disgrace for people who would be eating government money.
Okay. So do
Because
you do,
corruption,
do you think, Cesar? Let me come in real quickly. So do you think the issue of corruption persists because of the lack of political will on the part of our leaders?
of course, a lack of political will and no deterrent. They are not showing an example of when you are corrupt, what will happen. And also, corruption starts from the head. When you talk about corruption in government, if a one leader can really be strong and say, "Look, I stand for this," all the kickbacks and things that you forget, but then when it comes to concession agreement and other things, look at the people of the country. But people want to enrich themselves, Mr. Sako. So others who come in our younger generation is not learning anything good. They will come in the same thing, they will be doing the same thing that people are doing now because it seems like a culture. There's no
Okay,
example.
okay, okay,
No
we're bringing Ronald in for a quick response. Ronald,
So I don't disagree with Zizi. It's just that I could not at once say everything. The issue about deterrence, of course. I mean, things that are obvious. I need not to emphasize those obvious things. You cannot be in a country where there is people go with impunity, people steal. For example, our current president has a minister of state who cannot account for 500,000, right? You took money from the budget. The time period you took the money from the budget, you have not even been inaugurated yet. You go to social security. Social security is meant for people in the future, high working class, when people are in their retirement age, so that they cannot become liability, so that they have corresponding benefit on their labor when they were young, so that the system will not care for them because when they were energetic, they use their energy on the system. You go take 500,000 United States dollars even before inauguration. When they ask you, you say you got that car to procure bulletproof cars for the VIP. Whereas in the same time period, there was a transfer of power. The government that is leaving have all of those vehicles available. The security budget has money available, and the money on the Ministry of State. To this point, that minister is still there today. So I agree with Zizi. That would have been a deterrent. That was the current president's first test for tolerance against, I mean,
oh,
tolerance.
oh,
And,
corrupt. Mhm.
yeah, and to say he tolerating corruption, he tolerated corruption in that format. So I do agree with Zizi's perspective. I just try not to be over the particular in terms of those obvious things. I try to go for some of those thematic steps that I think we need to take that we have not taken. So not just this president, other leaders in the past have accommodated, they have welcomed corruption with glamour and with no sense of urgency in terms of doing what is right. Today you have a leader whose nephews and other people they are in government. It should not be like that. It should not be like that. Friendship, tribalism, that is corruption. Corruption doesn't mean you go and steal money. So I do agree with Zizi. Government needs to be more proactive. Citizen needs to also, like you said in your commentary, citizen need to understand responsible citizenship. Do not allow people manipulate your future. Them time come for voting, they give you rice, they give you jargons, they give you lies, they give you social media campaigns and awareness, and you buy that. So the real power is not to be given to the elite, it's to be given to the people. My campaign as a nationalist, my campaign as a teacher, my campaign as a librarian, I've always wanted to empower the young people because when you have a responsible government, now you in this country, Thomas, for maybe over a dozen years, right? How many times have you seen people going for political rallies and politicians giving foods and rights? Because those electorate, they don't vote you based on sentiment, they don't vote you based on stomach infrastructure or what they receive from you based on personal acquiescement. They vote you based on ideas, based on
Okay.
ideology. So
Yeah.
our citizen until our citizen, right, can
Mhm.
understand the role of a lawmaker. See, all of our lawmakers right now, they on agricultural break, they are dedicating projects. But guess what? The Liberian Agency for Community Empowerment is the agency by government responsible that's supposed to initiate community development. Why don't these lawmakers, if these lawmakers were passing laws and executing proper oversight, they will not need to go in their community to build roads and lights. But they rather taking the money, going and seeing as a humanitarian than using institutions. So those very people will come back and elect these people. The people need to be conscious that. That's my argument.
Okay, Ronald, I understand your argument about, I mean, let us be fair. Even in my commentary, I talk about, I was cautioning our people, against the habit of accepting, gifts from politicians and rewarding them, in turn rewarding them with votes. But a lot of people can argue, and that would be more than half of the country, that people are desperate, people are hungry, People, a lot of our people live, on less than $1 a day. With desperation comes all of these things, right? If you are severely hungry and there's a rally going on at CDC headquarters, for instance, and they're serving food, don't you think you're going to run over there and get your stomach full instead of going to the next party headquarters where they're just stocking all kinds of sophisticated ideas that even the common man cannot understand? What do you say
Look, Thomas,
to,
Thomas,
to, to, to people who
Thomas,
who
Thomas, Thomas,
who
Thomas.
reason
The
in,
people, the
in
people
that
of
man?
the people of Ghana, they endure that pain for their next generation. Look, every life has to do with sacrifices. The people of China, even the people of France,
But Ronald, to be fair, if you look at China, if you look at even Burkina Faso, right, the change did not start with the people. It started with a leader who was a visionary leader who was so passionate about. Let me say this, like sitting right here. If I see personally, if I see or if I see a young child hungry, starving, people suffering, when I witness suffering, I really feel it like an empath, right? We need leaders with these kinds of qualities, or characteristics. People who are empathetic. How can you be leading a country and you are in a bubble? You have everything to your disposal. You can send your children abroad to school, and everything is okay. You can even fly out of the country to get medical checkups, regular medical checkups. You are in a bubble. You are completely, detached from the reality, right? So it takes leaders with that political will, and I'll emphasize on that. So all these people, all these countries we talk about, China, the revolution did not start from the people. It started with the leader. The leader being a visionary and having that political will and willing to take that sacrifice, to take that calculated political risk, right? To say, oh, you know what? And sometimes even doing things that people who believe in the tenets of democracy will frown upon. Leaders, go against all of those outside views and do things with conviction. Because as a leader, I hate hunger. I don't want to see any child hungry. So when I become president, if it causes me, if it costs me, right? If I have to even freeze the entire salary of my official and bring it down to about 50% and redirect those funds into an agricultural program that will produce food in 2 years. It can happen. We've seen it happening in Burkina Faso. So it's all about political will. But for the past 178 years, I haven't seen any leader with that kind of compassion, that vision, that political will, to lead change, to start leading by example. I haven't seen one.
So
So,
yeah, Thomas, I do agree with you.
mhm,
We've always have leadership issue, and my debate here is not discounting the essence of a good leader.
mhm.
But that good leader is not a king who always bring that good leader. It is the people. I'm keen on the mechanism by which we produce these leaders. If we accept the honest fact that our selection in who will become a leader, for example, our current president Joseph Boakai, this is a man who admitted squandering opportunities, and he also talk about that. He admitted, say, I'm a failure. I failed. I've been around for the 2 years. Yet you go by and give him power. What does that say about your mentality as a people? A man who made a certain promise that be mountain. He said it was a bad concession. He said, and I can send you that clip. It was done in Lockington. In fact, he said, upon election, after 1 year, every citizen in Liberia will have access to health care. I get that clip, I can research it and send it to you. And maybe you can play it, maybe on our next show, right? I can send you that clip. So if you have a president who made a bold step that I can even ride wheelbarrow to job, He becomes president, he bought a Lexus that costs over $2 million. Be imagine to this point, the MDA has not been reviewed. When citizens want to protest, they were killed with live bullet, point
Okay,
blank.
okay, Ronald. I will come in very quickly, and I would like Zizi to respond to the follow up question. Let me hear Zizi first before I can follow up. Zizi, Ronald is making some claims, about the current regime. So what do you say? Ronald being a member of the past regime, what can you say,
Yes,
about Ronald's government's performance, regime performance, in comparison to the current regime performance when it
yes.
comes to the issue of
I think
tackling corruption.
I want to agree with Mr. W on what he just said, because even if people have problem, I'm not trying to be too political in this issue, but even if people have problem with the old regime, the regime of George Weah, the replacement for George Weah was not Joseph Waka. That's a serious mistake the Liberians made. Because we all know the 12 years he was vice president, we all know what happened. We know what he did, what he said, and he portrayed, people saw it. But still, because, and one thing I wanted to emphasize is this, you earlier talk about, and Mr. Deba, you also talk about the wrong choices that we make. Voting people, the people who supposed to go to power, we're not voting them. One of the problem, the economic problem in the country, you said it earlier, or Mr. Sago. People are going to accept bribes, they're going to accept money to vote for people because they are desperate. If you want people to be sound in making decisions from their own mind, void of or has economic benefits, is that there should be, people should be able to sustain themselves in that country. The economy is bad. If at all my political leader cannot do for me, or the person I've been supporting, or they have people with them that are doing the wrong thing, if someone comes to me and says, I can give you a $20, can you vote for me? I can give you $20, and I've been in the other camp, nothing, or I've been around, I can't get anything. So you cannot disconnect the economic problem of the people to the politics. It's very hard to just disconnect it because people are surely going to accept it. But again, I agree with me in another way that we should make sacrifices. It should not all be about money or money or money or money. When you stand for something, you should stand for it, no matter what it is. We saw it, what happened. In Liberia, we all know what we advocated for. But since it turned this way, Liberians now are saying, oh, why did I go this way? I should have remained this way. You see the point? But if you look, a patriot should always be a patriot. For me, if I believe in something, even if I'm not getting something out of it right now, I still stand for that person. I stand for that movement. But the
Okay.
greatest
So,
mistake that Liberians ever made, Mr. Sako, is to
mhm.
have voted Joseph Walker into power. I will tell you the truth.
Okay, let me respond to that. So I think so. What if somebody listening has another argument that you're being too harsh on the current president? He hasn't even been there for a year or so. What if that person is thinking that you are being too harsh? Give the man some time. What do you say to people who think that way?
Okay, Mr. Sako, you see the point is someone that has not been in power for a long time. We see what's going on in the country, corruption. I think Mr. W talk about, is it the NPA or this guy who just collected hundred or thousands of dollars or something. I didn't understand what he said about that. The country, besides that, the citizens, you see how people are being brutalized by the police. Black police. People are crying in the streets. The economy is bad. Even business people who used to go to the market and make little people buy from them, they are not buying. And instead of prioritizing the livelihood of the people, government officials are there doing a lot of different things. Look at the issue of the bulletproof car. Who wants to get rid of Joseph Boakai? That you will buy a bulletproof car that worth $1.8 million. That's corruption right there.
But
You can't
Zeze,
do that. Nobody can. Yeah.
Zeze, let me come in real quick. But don't you think it is necessary for the president to be protected? Don't you think that the president's security matters?
Protected from
Yeah,
what?
but there has been some things in play. Look, Mr. Debayo just said there has been some. There are presidential motorcade that were in place when he left. George, we did not take those things with him. He did
Or
not
do
take
you
those
do
stuff.
you okay? For the sake of this argument, all right. Do you know the actual value of of the vehicles of past leaders? Can you compare in dollar terms, in figures, to
So
tell who is using more money than the other, or you're just
I cannot
making
tell you
this?
a real figure. Maybe he will come in later, but I can tell
Mhm.
you for sure that the two presidential motorcade or the vehicles is
Mhm.
there's $1 million difference. I can tell you that. There's a million
But
dollar difference because what? There's
we need facts.
there's
We need
something like
facts
a
because
I
there are a
don't
lot
have
of,
that statistic, I don't have that
yeah.
record with me right now.
Okay,
But the
okay,
idea
Zeze,
that
because
people raise alarm, Mr.
mhm.
Sako, the idea that people raise alarm, even people within the United Party, they raise alarm concerning the vehicle issue tells you that this person won at the bar for the president is completely high.
Can you give us name? Can you give us names of some of the prominent members of the United Party that criticize the president's decision to purchase, uh, according to you, an expensive vehicle?
Well, it wasn't done publicly. And those some friends that I talked to, I'm
Ah,
not
so
gonna
it's just
it,
hearsay.
yeah,
Okay.
no, listen. When we come back the
Mm-hmm.
next time, if this topic should be
Mm-hmm.
that, I'll give you names. But it's bad to
Okay.
just
no,
mention names right now.
All
There
right,
are
thank
some
you.
friends.
Because gentlemen, we have to be fair, okay? Because a lot of
Yeah.
people will argue that prior to Joseph Walker's presidency, when the previous government spent even more on other things, on other perks, we're only focusing on the current president's
so
vehicle.
let me
But
tell you this. Let me tell you
however,
this.
we look at the vehicles and the amenities of past regimes,
So let me tell
to
you
be
this, right?
fair.
Let me tell you this.
Hmm.
If you want to solve the problem, you have to be honest, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, the current government came on a measure of rescue. To rescue is to secure somebody or a situation from a vulnerable state, a state of destitution, a state where you cannot do it for yourself. That was their measure. They told the Liberian people that the economy is in the toilet. They told the Liberian people that Georgia was careless. They told the Liberian people that Joseph Boga is poor and he has a country at heart and he has come to redeem. Somebody who comes as a redeemer. Jesus Christ, when he came, there were people sinning all around. He did not say because people were sinning, so I will sin. Then, but now he's not a savior. So, holding Joseph Boaka by his promises, holding Mr. Boaka by his definition of rescue, he used Costa and other people to say Joshua was living in luxury. The credits are the using of private jet. They said these things were wrong. Those were the campaign promises that the Liberian people purchased and say, we will elect you based on this. When you come and become a snare of your progress, then the element of comparison cannot exist here. Because he who preaches equity must come with clean hands. More so, the presidential vehicles that were used by George Weah were inherited from Manan Salif. It never changed for 6 years.
Okay. Okay, we'll try to authenticate that, but just
Yeah,
before
I'm
we
giving you
wrap up,
information.
this discussion, has been very interesting. But just before we wrap up, don't you think that, I mean, like others may argue that the president's rescue mission, that it is too soon to start evaluating it, because let's be fair, the problems of Liberia are complex. You from your initial statement, agreed that the problems that we face today is not the result of what this current government did, or the previous government did, or the governments for the past 100 years did. It's a collective problem. So if Mr. Bwaka provided some good um of remedies to solve the problem, don't you think it is still too early to start expecting results from the way you are looking at it. Yeah, don't you think it's still too soon?
Let me conclude with this, right? Let me tell you
Hmm.
this. Yeah, because I'm out of time, right? And we almost finishing.
Yeah, we have to wrap up.
A political party is a government in waiting. Two things Mr. Borga came to the presidency with. He came with the advantage of experience and old age. Experience not just with age, but in government. Over 40 years. It took
But
Mr. Borga.
but Ronald, just
Give me a point. Give me a point. Let me make
just
this.
quickly, Ronald. We can also argue that even Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who I can say is one of the most qualified presidents in the history of our nation, that she herself, struggled to solve Liberia's problems
So
because
let
they
me
are
get to the point.
complex. So it's
Let me
not
get
just one regime.
no. Let me
So
get to my
I
point.
will let you continue.
So the situation is context specific. When
Mhm.
you come to government on the metra of being experienced, rescue, and change, and you came and you took 6 months to constitute a government, Joseph Boga took almost 8 months to constitute a government. That was the beginning of failure. As an experienced vice president who served for 12 years, you made noise and you took almost 8 months to constitute a government. That tells you judgment. First thing, you have transitional period, almost 2 months. The elections were won in November. It took December, January. Joseph Boga constituted a government at the end of 2024. It took more than 1 year to come out with a physical copy. The last element of the arrest agenda, it took almost a year. That is the beginning of failure. But if you say we should not judge him on failure, then wait a second. It took Mr. Boga less than 6 months to support the Student Unification Party and Henry Costa to initiate the Bring Back Our Money campaign against George Weah government. It took him less than a year to go on the street on June 6th to protest as a citizen. Instead of calling for a mechanism to say let's support the government, it was never like that. It took him less than 2 years to put people into the streets to bring down the other government. Can you tell me that was out of desperation? Can you tell me they were unscrupulous? Can you tell me that they were being dishonest to the Liberian people? If they were not dishonest, then wait a second. You cannot be telling, oh, it's too early. Early after almost 2 years. How early is it when Mr. Borga now has 100,000 on his debit card? Every travel he made 100,000 on
So
that
what,
card.
Ronald? What
How early is
proof?
it? How
What
early
proof
is
is
it
that?
when
Is,
his
is,
wife?
is it public data?
Yes, I'm talking to you as a reputable person. I can be quoted.
Mhm.
I talk to you as a deputy secretary for records and research of the CDC. How early is
Okay.
it when his wife has seven
We,
hundred
we,
thousand
we are
in?
yet to verify that information.
But how early is it when his wife has 700,000 as first lady? They criticize George Weah wife for having 200,000. Now she has about 700,000 in her budget. How early is it when Mr. Boga is flying private jet? You say it's still early. How early is it when Mr. Boga, is they have their wedding anniversary for 300,000? Is it not early to have wedding anniversary for $300,000? And you telling oh it's early? Yes, it is early because the people of Tugbeita in Green County, they don't have maternity centers. It is so early, according to you, but to all, it is not early because the students are still vulnerable. Mass failures in WAEC. It is still not early. It will be early if Mr. Boaka, first thing, it took almost 1 year. Up to this time, less than 40% of his government has declared asset. When he said that was a basic campaign promise, just to declare asset, less than 40% of his campaign of his cabinet have not declared asset yet. You say it's still early? Mr. Boka, when he did justice after almost 2 years. What was the essence of doing justice? Now they are going to say they were doing just awareness. No, people who have power, authority, people who control the budget, they do not make awareness, they take actions. Mr. Boka
Okay.
should be telling us what
Okay.
policy have been erected. So if
Okay, Ronald.
people are
Okay,
being
Ronald. Just before we go on our break,
so
just
let's
before we
I'm
go on the
begging, I'm
break,
begging you
we
to
have
leave
a
me the
comment. We have a comment from one of our followers. Joseph. Joseph, can you give us what the follower is saying? I think they're trying to address the panelists. Joseph.
Okay, so the comment is directly to one of our panelists. He said, and I quote, "You people are seriously against the president, mainly you, ZZ. according to your movement, even during the campaign time, you took, I mean, sorry, you took an empty casket for a human being wishing Bwaka's death. Yes, that was pretty direct. Yeah.
So,
Do we want to respond to
Zizek,
that?
yes, Zizek, could you please?
Yeah, you said they said I took a casket against Bwakai.
Yeah, wishing Bwaka's death.
No, I have not been in Liberia for a very long time. That's not true during the election. I've only been
Okay.
advocating. I've been speaking against what's been going on in Liberia. But I haven't been there. I didn't take casket. That's a wrong information. It's not true.
Okay, gentlemen. I think in all fairness, we've heard a lot of serious criticism, and accusation against the current regime, president. But unfortunately, we do not have any, Unity Party political commentator here to respond and or defend, the regime. So I think we'll have to have another discussion. We'll have to extend this discussion in our subsequent segments so that somebody from the regime can come and answer to some of these accusations. Unfortunately, Dolly, who is a Unity Party a political strategist, a commentator, uh, couldn't stay with us due to some technical reasons. But I want to leave it right there. And when we come back after this break, we'll have our closing arguments. But I must admit, this has been a really fiery and impassioned debate. We'll be right back. Just before our panelists can give us their parting comments, Joseph, do you have any updates from your end? Joseph, you are mute.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you well.
I mean, just before we take our parting comments from our panelists, I wanted to know if you have any updates from your end, any further questions or uh, update from Liberia.
Yes, we have updates from Liberia. A lot of events has been occurring.
Hmm.
Just recently we've been talking about the issue of the rising abuse of drug, and a DEA officer that goes by the name of Emmanuel Blackbottle was murdered in Caldwell, Moserata County during an anti-drug operation. And the faculties is threatening a go slow action if the government does not pay them their dues so that has a conducive learning condition. And has launched an anti-fraud and whistleblower policy aimed to boosting transparency and accountability throughout the entire sector. And in a landmark agreement, Liberia has also signed an 88.7 million US dollar deal with the World Bank to revamp public primary education. And the project promises sweeping reforms in teaching quality and school access. And the Liberia Revenue Authority has reported a first quarter budget deficit of over 22 million United States dollars. And this raises alarm over fiscal discipline and government spending projections. And also, of recent, for the first time in history, Riverside County has been linked to the national power grid, meaning Riverside County now has electricity. And this is a milestone because thousands across the regions are now seeing electricity. And women's rights activists and civil society organizations are urging for the prosecution of law enforcement officers allegedly involved in drug trafficking into Liberia, because this is a rising concern, and it is actually damaging vulnerable youth because of the rising use of the rising abuse of substances, illegal drugs. So these are the top stories in Liberia, and I want you to stay update, stay engaged, because one of the key things to national progress is knowing the facts. So that is it.
Thank you, Joseph.
That is what.
Okay, now, gentlemen, your parting comments. We begin with you, Zizi.
You begin with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
We
thank you.
made a lot of accusations and criticize governments and other people, but now this show is focused on solutions. What are some solutions? What are some advice, some words of encouragement as you take leave of as you end your segment today on the show.
Yes, Mr. Sacrifice, I want to thank you for having me or as a panelist on the first edition of your program. And I will be waiting to come anytime. I know you have been very transparent in putting the argument forward, and I like that. Your analysis you gave first, that was very good. I like it. And I just want to say that, the topic today, independence, what is independence? We've gone 178 years. There's nothing that we are celebrating now. And this is not about a government, it's about the whole country from 1847. So I think there are some things that should be put in place as I talk about concerning culture of impunity, going down high on the culture of impunity and deterrent that will cause people to do the right thing in the country. And introducing a curriculum that will teach patriotism. And in that, it will be included what corruption, the bad side of corruption. When you are in government, why you should be honest? What you should do to help your government instead of taking from the government. I think those are things that can be introduced into into schools that will help people to learn. The younger generation is not learning anything good. All they see is someone go and steals money, or it comes on the radio or on TV. Oh, this official so the next government, that official will be having another bigger position in there. That's not an example. That's not a deterrent. So I think we should try to introduce those things in our government, in our schools, to make students or younger generation to know what it is. And also in the society, if someone does something wrong, take them to court. If they are guilty, let them face the full weight of the law instead of trying to step in using your influence to free that person. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zizi.
Can I go off now? I have to prepare for job.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. We really value your time and your contribution. Take care.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, sir. Rhino?
Oh yes, so thanks, Thomas. I'm waiting on you to get me in. Thanks for today's conversation. This is just the beginning. I'm hoping the next time will be better. I
Yep.
will even suggest that we can do some boosting of the broadcast, because that way we can reach many audience. They will subscribe, and then every time we go on, the alert will go to them, and that's how the followership can grow. So today was okay. I think it will be better the next time. And thanks to your individual efforts, I know what it means to play the role you are playing. So let me conclude with summarizing an argument today. We have argued that Liberia's foundation has a rocket beginning. There was no clear-cut objectives other than wanting political autonomy. That political autonomy was achieved. We did not structurally manage ourselves. We did not have plans, to lead ourselves for a generation unborn. And I believe the foundation of the country under the ACS, the motives were very ambiguous. Some of the supporter of the ACS, some of those idea bearer, they wanted the free slaves to have autonomy, that slaves autonomy, while some of them just wanted to remove the black people from the US and to stop being slave. And of course, they came and founded a country, and that country was founded with a less grassroots liberation mentality. And for me, it was more of an imposed solution, to America's racial tension and racial mindset. And when that happens, I think indigenous people historically, it is stated that they were excluded from the independent process. And when the indigenous people became a component of the society, they became decision makers. That social cohesion was never there. And until today, that issue still exists. That diverse, that elite class system has been a serious issue that led all to 14 years of upheaval. And I think after almost all of those years, almost 30 years of setback, we've learned nothing. The issue of political suppression and oppression, the issue of discrimination, the issue of rampant corruption, tribalism, and nepotism still exists today. Sectionalism and segregated, governance postures still exist. Bad governance, leaders thinking that king, they cannot make errors. These vices still exist. Because these vices exist, I think we've lost it all. We lost the essence of independence. We never had it in the first place. We were self-right. We only verbally declare our independence. We did not attain our independence. Verbal declaration to me was not enough. It has happened. What can we do now? I want to emphasize that we can do a symbolic or legal reassertion of the fundamental basis on which we are formed. The new Associate Justice Kane, Waga Kane, he taught me he was one of my orientation professor at the law school. He's very much grounded in the law, and he has argued that the Constitution needs to be rewritten. I agree to that. We need to rewrite the Constitution. We need to look at the preamble. You say liberal, were founded on Christian principle, and now you see secularism. Today you still talk about the People Redemption Council in our Constitution of today after 1986. So there are some chapters and articles within the Constitution that do not make current day's reality. Just how the
Yeah, but Rana, just to uh, just to come in on one of the points that you made, I think the 1986 Constitution uh, provides that or states that Liberia is a secular state.
yeah, it's about the preamble. It
As
cannot be
can
changed.
be corrected. Mhm,
Yeah, that was the preamble. When you read
mhm.
the preamble, it mentions something about Christians in the preamble. So
Okay,
secularism and Christianity are contradiction.
okay, all right,
That's my point. The preamble is that phrase that cannot be altered. So the
okay.
preamble is contradicting what the 1986 Constitution provides. So all of these inaccuracy in our Constitution, providing clemency to the leaders of the 1986 to the coup, and some other clauses that are very silent in the Constitution, not meeting current day reality. Even our penal code of 1972, the criminal laws are very obsolete. When there are some contemporary crimes today that were not in existence, cyber crimes, stealing phones, all of these things. Today, our legal system is struggling to cope with this changing reality. So there's a need we go back, restate the essence of our existing, realign our political thought and political ideology, give ourselves a philosophy, give ourselves an idea. Labrador has a capital called Morovia, named after President James Monroe, the fifth president of the United States of America. Labrador is the only country that I know since its foundation, the capital has not changed. You still have that same old capital. That capital was built for less than 10,000 inhabitants. Today, there's immense urban stress, too much urban migration, so many people fighting for little space, altering the natural environment is leading to too much degradation. The raw sewage in environment in Liberia is so high. Look at the Missouri River is polluted because you got more people building around the rivers and it has septic tank. They directly flushing into the river and it having mass accumulation on aquatic species and what have you. So our country needs to be reorganized from all spectrum, whether the capital, whether we have no building codes. People just build houses without structuring their houses. We have nothing in terms of urbanization, of urbanizing our building system. So there are many things we need to talk about. So after almost 200 years, Labrador still haven't gone anywhere yet. It's not late. Austria did it. Estonia did it. The other countries like Ethiopia have done it. They really look at their independence. and created a model that suit current day reality. On this note, Thomas, I'd like to say thank you very much. I'm always willing to provide my expertise and my time to your show once the time is available.
Ronald, thank you for your insight. We really appreciate your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was a very insightful, reflection of our 178 years of existence as a country, what we have achieved, what we are yet to achieve, failures that we've made in the past. How can we learn from those failures and improve on building a solid foundation for our future generation to benefit from? But before we wrap up today, let's take a moment to reflect on the bigger picture of what this show is all about. Now, I want you to imagine a Liberia where citizens are empowered with adequate information and resources to thoroughly evaluate their leaders, demand transparency, and hold public officials accountable for their actions and their inactions. Also, imagine a society where young people are eagerly utilizing various creative communication tools to transform their anger and frustrations into constructive dialogue and inspiring works of art. And that's the Liberia that we envision. And to achieve this significant undertaking, we look forward to you. We look forward to partnering with you, our followers and supporters, Liberians from all walks of life and in every corner of the globe. I will see you next time. But until we meet again, please take good care of yourselves and remember to always be kind to the people around you. Thank you.